Okay, here's skinning a walleye. I've already made the initial cut all the way up using the dikes. Start a little cut at the tail, trim it all the way up, lift up your gill, cut the tissue that's running around here, all around the gill, and using a fish skinning knife. Got it from Mackenzie's. You start to remove the skin from the fish. Always move your knife forward. Never come back like this, because when you do this, you're actually separating the scales and the scales will start to pop. So you always want to move your knife forward. Until you hit the fin rays. The fin rays are the bones that come from the top of the fin and go down into the meat, into the skeleton structure of the fish. Keep skinning it all the way around until you're stopped by those fin rays. That'll be half the fish. You can start the other half. You can hear that in the film, that's the fin rays. Walleye's got a huge dorsal fin, comes all the way down, then a separate fin coming off the back, second dorsal. Spin this around. And we'll continue on this side. The back side's done, you can see here. Continue up here. You can leave a little meat on the first one, you're going to scrape it off afterwards anyways. Big fish like this has a lot of tendons that run along the skin. If you can get them off on your first skinning, that's fine. If not, we're moving forward at Mohawk Chevrolet, and we will. They'll scrape off later. If you lift up the skin a little bit, keeping some tension on it, Walleye's got a pretty tough skin too, so very similar to a bass. You don't move this fast with a trout. Thin skin, oily fish, you'd be popping scales. Fish is laid on a half-inch of newspaper that's wet. That keeps the show side nice and damp while you're working it. Work yourself up in between these fins. Come right around with the tip of your knife. And separate that. Snips. Using the snips here, we're going to reach underneath, cut these bones. And that'll open up this area so we can get to it. ray stops just right there. I like to work myself underneath the tail a little bit so I can get my snips under there in order to cut up through the dorsal fin, pectoral fin, and so forth. Keeping that fish nice and flat, you can start working underneath it a little bit. Maybe we'll get to these fin rays. Using the snips, get up underneath here, and cut back towards the tail. Cutting all the way around. See where it's going to cut around. I have to spin this around. Then take that knife and start cutting back up. Left right there. So the downside is going to be your show side. You try to keep it as flat as possible. That's why I use this tray. Keep water on it. I lift up. Holding those fin rays right there, slide this snips underneath and start snipping it along. You can leave quite a bit of meat there right now. That can be dealt with later. Now there's the fin rays right there. Got a good girth to it. Get up into here, in this isthmus area, and try to get your blade underneath that fine tissue that sucks right up to their throat. Start working your knife in there. It's important to have that. Again, working the knife forward, always forward. Not popping any scales that way. scalpel, trim that tissue again way up inside. Careful not to cut through it. Run your blade, fish skinning knife all up inside. Far down as you can get it. Front of those fin rays, back to the back. It's a female that was caught through the ice. And loaded with eggs. That bunghole. Belly on a walleye that's pre-spawn is really extended and thin-skinned. We'll cut these other fins right here. Give us a little room to expose this other fin ray, the bottom fins. And then snip it off. And again, you can leave so you don't go popping through the skin. Leave a little meat on those. You can take care of that afterwards. Now they're completely free. You can start working on this. That water on the newspapers, you can lift the meat so slightly that the skin actually sucks to the paper with a suction, and it keeps it nice and flat for you to work. Keep working your way all the way up. Well, there's There's that egg sac right there. You don't want to be breaking that. But you can see how thin this belly is. This belly meat is so thin because it's just full of eggs. I'll be hitting that other fin right in a minute. They're spinning around work from the back. Still got some fin rays here to take care of. You can hear that knife hitting those. So, lift it up, slide your tin snips underneath and trim those bones. Section between the two of them, no bones, we'll just free it up some. That might do it right there. Could be another one right up inside. Now we're going to start working on that head. We're going to take these snips. I'm going to run right through here, cutting straight down in so you can find that neck and head bone. Hear that snip? Now that all those are off, we can use your knife again. Start sliding up inside and freeing this section right in through here. It's a big chunk. It's a large bone in there. Goes to the base of their skull. Once you've got that freed up, you can snip it more. Throat area. I'm going to start scraping this throat back. It'll expose the skin where I have to cut. And you want to have a nice throat when you have an open mouth on the fish. You look inside, you'll see all the way back into the throat. So now we've got good 3 inches of throat. Again, taking your snips or a scalpel. Reach in, get underneath it, and cut that throat right out. Now, if you can see inside here, this is the throat. That's the section that'll be sewed. Left on the mount. And this is what we're trying to get out right now. We're going to work our way up into here and snip as close to the eyes as we can in order to get a triangle-like piece of meat that's going to be attached to that on this big bone. Using the tin snips, get that bone and snip it. There. Now we can continue skinning this fish up all the way and take this meat out. One more ray in there to trim out. Gotta get to it. That's a hidden one. Okay. Let's work on this throat area right here. Lift your gill up. Scalpel blade. Cut that tissue nice and easy all along the inside. Using the front part of your knife, curved part, that can reach inside. Go nice and easy. It's a very, very thin, tender piece of tissue. When it's exposed, there will be another small chin bone, like, I don't know what the actual name is of it, but it runs right up to the mouth. Snip this. Going very gingerly up here. Tissue goes all the way up on the inside for the other gill. Keep checking where you're at. You're going to be coming on the other side here. Sometimes you can run your fingers on it. If it's a nice, good, fresh fish, you can run your fingers up in there and that tissue will come right off. This one's been frozen since ice fishing, so it's a little bit tougher. Okay, so now the blade is completely through this section of the throat. I can run my snips in there now, and we'll cut that off and leave a section for now. So I can get the rest of this meat out, we can see it better. Here's your other fin ray, right here, side fin, cutting towards the body, snip it. The gill plate that you can hear there. Okay, now snip this fin, and we're just about ready to take this meat out. Trim up on this side here. Same thing that we did on the opposite side. Anything that starts to stop you, little tiny bones here and there, you gotta cut them off. I'm gonna go up to this side, put my fingers underneath so I can tell where my tip my blade is. Snip up into that bone. A little bit on the other side. Snip it. And here's the removal of the meat. Bottom jaw, like I was talking about, goes all the way up to the jaw and your neck bone. Get rid of this and we'll get on to the check your skin on the other side. Looks pretty good. No holes. Make sure your skin's flat. And you're going to be using a paint scraper that we should have had out. We don't. Right here. Got it. Again, it's an old paint scraper. I've had it for 35 years. Blade's not very sharp. You don't want a sharp blade. You're looking at dragging it forward from the tail up. And what you're going to do is you're going to be taking all this little bit of meat that's left on the skin and removing it. Keep your pressure with the left hand. You can see that that's going to come off nice and easy. As you can see right here. So you're going to do this over the whole fish. Remove as much as you can. Always going forward from the tail to the head. What it does is it pushes this one scale under the other, and it doesn't allow it to pop out. Keeping your hand on there so the skin doesn't move on you. Clean up around the fin rays. You're going to trim those off later. So it doesn't take much. Pair of tin snips, fish skinning knife from Mackenzie, paint scraper, and a scalpel. And you could be skinning your fish and getting ready to mount them yourself. For an eye removal, we'll do a quick one here. Take your scalpel, run it inside the eye. Cut all the way around the eye. Reach underneath, pop the eye up. You can hold it there, cut the tissue. And remove that eye. Okay, so now you can take your blade, keeping it flat. You've got to have it just underneath here and start running it. You can see the blade. That's a very, very thin. You see the blade? Very thin. So you want to keep that blade going down nice and easy. Cut all that tissue. As far down as you can get it. Then you can use your skinning knife, your fish skinning knife, to remove it. You can see the blade and just underneath it. If you take too much, if you take it off too close, you're actually going to be taking the pigment off. Pigment out of the inside there. It's going to be all those little gold leaf type patterns. So you'll have to add those on afterwards if you do remove them. I've got a video out on walleye scallops. Which is the cheek. That cheek meat is just like a scallop. Sometimes you can get them out all at once. Probably one of the best eaten parts of the fish, especially on a walleye. keep scraping until you can hear that. That is the cheekbone. It doesn't look like this one's going to come out all at once. Good hunt there. It's all fun and games until you break the blade off inside. There it is. Ooh, thank you. Get another blade. Take the rest of this out. This old boy didn't want to give up. And there's your scallop meat. If you were to have it all in one piece, you'd be in pretty good shape. If not, you take them like that, wrap a little bacon around it, fry them up. You never go back to sea scallops if you can catch enough walleye. This particular walleye came out of Lake Champlain. So now the eye cavity is pretty much cleaned out until after we get into the brain area on this one. This side. Like I say, when you can hear the scraping. That is the cheekbone. You know you've got it out and cleaned. Okay. We have to continue working on this, cutting all the fin rays off, scraping the rest of it, taking the other eye out, working the back side here. Then we'll flip it over. We'll remove the other eye and the cheek. And then we're going to be soaking it in borax and a concentrated Lysol. This is something that I've been using for years. Works well, deodorizes the fish. Make sure that your fins are tucked under when you're scraping the edges. You can see how white it comes. Nice and clean. That is basically what you do on skinning any fish. I'm going along these fin rays with my blade. Picking it up, holding it up, pinching it, and just trim that meat right off. You might have to do that a couple times. You can see these are the fin rays right here. And that's all good. Do the opposite side. Same thing up here. These two here. And then we're going to work on the inside of the skull. And it's going to be kind of tough because I'm going to be working it like that. But the whole thing is take this. There's your bone there. Runs right along the roof of the mouth. You get in there and Snip along that, being careful not to cut the roof of the mouth. Snip on both sides and remove that chunk. After that, you scrape, get everything as out as you can, put it in your borax and Lysol solution in a 5-gallon bucket. Keep it cool, have your form ordered, and next thing is we'll be mounting this. All right, thanks for watching.